Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast. I am Brandon Fiscus. This is my co-host.
I'm Landon. Howdy doody.
And today in the studio, we have our buddy, Steve.
Yeah, Steve Hydeen.
Introduce yourself.
My name is Steve Hydeen, local actor, improviser, actor coach, and other things. And thanks for letting me be here.
Of course. Thanks for being our first guest on the podcast.
Yay!
Yeah. No pressure.
Yeah, as soon as you said that earlier, I felt an immediate amount of pressure.
Right. So now it's all up to you if this podcast makes it or breaks it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the new goal is episse 2.
Yeah.
Correct. Which happens in another hour, actually.
Oh, perfect.
So
Okay.
no pressure now.
All right, pressure's gone.
Pressure's gone. So, we did send you kind of a pre-interview thing, like things that you want to talk about and everything like that. And of course, this is the first one, and I didn't get to overly look at it, so we're just going to kind of spitfire, kind of do it like the regular Filmmakers Hangout anyhow, and just kind of chit-chat and talk.
Okay.
You know? So, you mentioned that you are an actor. You're an acting coach.
Yeah.
But then you also mentioned to me that you're kind of branched even broader than that now.
I have.
So kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah. So about a month ago, I had the opportunity to step into a new role as the education director at the 402 Arts Collective. So I've been affiliated with the Arts Collective nearly since its inception, which was 13 years ago. I think it was like 2010, 2011 is when they launched it. It was based out of Benson. You probably walked past it a few times right there on 60th and Maple.
Oh, yes.
At the time, I was an actor improviser in town and looking for ways to just teach. I love teaching. I love what people can learn through improvisational acting.
Right.
Beyond the stage, like in general life skills. And so for 10 years, I probably was trying to figure out how do I get more involved with the 402, and I had a career in hospitality management. And if you've been in hospitality management or management in general, you don't have a life.
No.
So it's very, very hard to claim that I am an actor or I'm an acting teacher and really not have a lot of opportunities to do the work. I was performing on a regular basis, but my life wasn't aligning the way that I hoped it to. But I did have an opportunity to join the 402 in May of 21. And I launched the Acting Academy, which was a new program of performing arts education. And then about a month ago, the opportunity came up just to step into a larger role of the education director.
Nice.
So I was doing directing for the acting branch, helping people get into acting classes and develop new classes.
But it expanded a little bit more.
And now I get to worry and stress and dream.
I believe now. Unfortunately, I don't know everything about the 402. Unfortunately, but you work directly with like Cindy with some of those classes.
You mean Nicole?
Is it Nicole? Yes.
I think you're thinking Nicole.
Nicole.
Yes. Yeah. So Nicole.
I don't get names right anymore.
No, that's okay. Yeah. Nicole Callahan teaches there, and Nicole. I don't recall when she joined the 402, but before there was the Acting Academy, she also was trying to figure out, I want to teach actors how to get into the industry, and she had spent time in LA and Texas, and so she had her own tool bag of skills. And the 402 is open to artists to say, well, come teach your craft here. We'll create a space, kind of like this room. We'll create a space for you to launch your dream. And there's so many actors, there's so many artists in our community. Even talking with you two, I'm inspired already that there's more. There's so many artists just wanting to do their thing, and we've spent a lot of time learning that craft. And so finding a way to, if you can make an income off of it, that's huge. But it's really hard. Right. As you know. And so the Arts Collective was built to give artists a chance to teach, get some income, but teach their craft to the next generation of artists.
So we've mentioned on multiple occasions, Landon and myself, we find ourselves more comfortable behind the camera, but we will definitely put ourselves in front of it if and when necessary. So we tend to tell people we don't consider ourselves actors, but we've been told on regular occasions that if you're acting, you're an actor. But what would be your go-to advice for people that may think like us that we might be creative, might know how to tell the story, but we don't consider ourselves actors. What would be our next path to maybe bridge that gap to actually make ourselves think it and maybe even know it, not just, do it just cause.
Yeah.
We have to be a filler in a sense.
Yeah. Well, I feel like when it comes to creating, on some level, we're just trying to figure out how to communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really, and so when you, not that you were giving yourself dispersions for not wanting to be in front of the camera, your passions being behind it, and sometimes you do have to fill in.
Right.
But what I find encouraging, if we can change our perspective on what it is that we're doing as the artists, whether it's in front of the camera or behind, or with a canvas in front of us or with an instrument in our hand, is we're trying to figure out how to communicate with our audience. And so the roles that you both play in front and behind is huge, because you're also the vision. Like, I see this thing and I gotta find a way to get this idea, or if it's coming from here, gotta communicate that to the audience. Right. And we've experienced sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, why didn't that work? But that instinct that's pushing us, I think that's, I'm not sure if you would consider that advice, but changing your perspective on the role that you play or the hat that you wear, regardless of where you're at.
Right.
There's no hierarchy to it. It's just the various roles that we play.
And I think you're in a very niche group of filmmakers in the area that have actually been able to see me act.
Yeah, that was great.
Because you did hire me to play one of the characters that I do. I'm a character actor during the holidays for Santa Claus. And so when it comes to that, I don't see that as acting, because after a while, I've been doing that for over 15 years.
It's like 16 years now.
Almost. So basically, it's just another version of me now.
Yeah.
And I don't put an acting hat on in the back of my head. But then you mentioned improv. To me, I think that role, that job, that character of being Santa Claus, not acting like I'm Santa Claus. I am Santa Claus the second that beard goes on.
Yeah.
As you can probably attest to, because you couldn't talk to Brandon on the set.
I'll attest to it, dude. When he's getting ready at home, as soon as he'll have the pants on, the boots on, the shirt on, everything's on, but the beard, and he's still talking like Brandon. He's like, "Yo, can you go get me the spirit gum or the wig tape or whatever?" And the second even this part of the beard goes on, because the mustache is separate.
Yeah.
As soon as this part goes on, Amish Santa, the voice comes out, even at home.
Yep.
Even at home.
I change my demeanor, the voice changes, everything changes. But it's funny that I never actually took classes in improv, but Santa kind of made me learn improv.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that until talking to actors like yourself that do improv. And, they're just like, you probably had a crash course in it, probably harder than most, because audiences that go to improv, they know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
Kids, they are not nice.
They'll ask you any question under the sun.
And you have to think on your feet, otherwise you're ruining childhoods forever.
Yeah.
When it comes to improv, what is some of your tools that you like to use to be able to think right on your feet as quick as possible?
I wouldn't say it's morphed over time.
Okay.
And so I will share 5 words or 5 concepts that, and why I say that is
yes, and
it's a part of it. It's you spend a lot of time studying an art form, and then eventually, and even if you're reading acting books or improv books, you're seeing someone else see into their version of the genius of this is how the art form works. And all of a sudden lights go off and they're drawn to a very specific thing. So even various, in the history of acting, there's various people that have, you studied with so-and-so, or you studied that method of acting, that style of acting.
Right.
And so I've been fascinated to observe how it was all inspired by someone else teaching them. You taught Landon this, and then Landon's like, oh, but I see it so different, and that's because you raised Landon a certain way, and then he takes what you learned and he morphs it into this. Well, the same thing with improvisation and acting. So for me, after the 30-ish years of just studying it and playing in that world, the yes and is a part of it. And everyone says that's the most important rule. And since this is being recorded, I'm going to go on record and say, to me, it's not the most important rule. It's the second rule.
What?
And that's this. Yeah. I just hope this doesn't ruin the whole thing for y'all.
Illusion shattered.
But here's why. You have to say yes. You got to find a way to affirm. I use the language affirm at the 402, and it's built. It's built with other ideas that are about. I'll share in a second. But in order to say yes, you have to be listening.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, listening is the most important rule when it comes to improvisation, but ultimately acting. Like if whether it's on set or if I'm the character I'm choosing, I need to be ready to respond, to react to what my scene partners are giving me. Those are gifts,
right?
And how they've prepared, whether it's through rehearsal or in moments of spontaneity. I can't have anything pre-planned, which is improvisation. There's no pre-planning, so I have to really be focused on the listening.
Similar to the Ted movie, we're giving you the tools, buddy. Make it comedy.
Yeah. So after there's that affirmation part, though, which is true, the yes and, we're trying to build trust. I'm always looking for ways to build trust. And through that is another word, connect. Mm-hmm. I think what we're trying to do, that communication, that connection, like as an improvising actor, I have to figure out how to connect.
Right.
Like we're sitting in a sci-fi room, okay? I immediately notice that, okay? So maybe if that were to come up, I immediately have stuff to work with because, so through that and through the Santa Claus conversation and through earlier just talking about your age and the things that you're interested in behind the camera and the directing and the writing and like, okay, I'm just like, what can I pull from? What can I draw from? Some connecting. So we have the affirm, we have the building trust, we have the listening, which I already mentioned. And as we build those things on stage, whether it's with a script or without a script, we finally have that opportunity to create. And I don't know that it's easy to create anything if you don't have a trusting community, you don't have a collaborative artists, there's a willingness to listen, there's a willingness to be selfless. I sometimes talk about that in acting class, which is weird to say, well, if you want this to work for you, you kind of have to have a selfless approach.
Right.
Which goes against sometimes our logic on what we're trying to do because we have to have a certain amount of confidence and bravery on stage. And so to be confidently selfless doesn't always feel like it equates or it.
Right. And I'm assuming it's like every rule in the world that you have to understand the rule before you can bend it or break it.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's that whole thing of, you know what, I'm going to stop listening now because he's not talking anything worthwhile.
Yeah,
he's lost his mind.
Yeah. But then because you're listening to that, you start to react and then you make a choice.
Right.
And then the story continues to evolve.
Now, kind of going back to the whole listening part and the improv thing, and then what you mentioned about like your previous career path and stuff. Mm-hmm. Do you have individuals that are in like sales and things like that they don't want to be actors? That's not their goal in life. That they come to your classes to better themselves in being able to just think on their feet in a corporate setting, in a sense. Better listeners, and being able to answer the questions that were asked. Do you see a lot of that, or is there need to be a bridge there?
I see yes and not yet.
Okay.
I see. So when we launched the Acting Academy in May of 21, obviously, anytime you launch something, it takes a while, and so it started with 2 people, and then and Nicole. When she came on board, she had classes that she was launching. So you start with a few, and then you build, and then you add classes. Right. At the Arts Collective in general, it's when it comes to music and visual art education, it tends to draw parents in to give arts education opportunity to their children. Yeah. So we sort of assumed based on our own market research that we draw youth in, and then we find ways, because I'm very interested in the adult education side of it.
Right.
Oddly enough, adults came first, and there's all of us were just like, I want to do this. I've always wanted to try this, and there's finally a pathway that where the commitment can be low enough that I can easily get in, and I don't have to be afraid of failing because I just get to start this class. I don't have to get a degree in it. I just get to study it. So, in that process, learning about where are these people coming from. We have people who are interested in being filmmakers. That I'm already thinking, I got to make sure I connect the people in my class to you two. I've had lawyers, nutritionists, young adults, kind of like your age, who are on this career path, but they really don't want to stay on that. So trying to figure out, I've always wanted to try this, and so they're trying to pivot from maybe pursuing a medical degree.
Okay.
Did I say lawyers already? We've had lawyers. No one has yet come, and so I said not yet. No one has yet bridged that gap to say I'm here because of this other thing that's important to me. Oftentimes it feels like it's individuals who are exhausted by life,
what they're doing,
and this is a beneficial, healthy, creative outlet that just fills them with joy and helps them keep going. But what I'm intrigued by is that I know that there's bridges that are built and can be built better for us to say, well, we'll come to your HR department, or we'll come to you and we'll help you with listening and just creative expression, because that builds the best way to learn how to trust someone is to fail in front of them, or to not fail in front of them, fail with them.
Right.
And improvisation.
Well, and I think it also educates people that the one thing that you have in film that you don't have in theater, but you do to a point, is the option for take two.
Yeah.
And learn from the first take. So in a corporate world, I can imagine, even going through the exercise is going to teach you to learn to do, to lose in a sense. You need to know what not to do the right thing down the road, kind of thing.
It's so true.
And bringing up the whole, filmmaking versus theater doesn't get to retake it that night, but they get another night.
Right.
Sometimes. Not every theater production does that. Is there a different way that you would handle those actors as well? The ones that want theater versus film?
In class, at least the classes that I teach, I think it's interesting, like where our background comes from, and that informs how we view the world.
Right.
And so I have, in a traditional acting class, I'm bringing in these improv elements because for a screen setting or a set setting versus a stage setting, it still comes down to those basics of, in this moment, you have to make a choice. And in making that choice, you should be looking for the strongest choice. And we can strip away whether you're going to get another take at this and make a new choice or tweak the choice, or in the rehearsal process of saying, the director may be encouraging, can we try a different choice? Yeah, absolutely. So to me, the tool in my tool belt, it is the same, but practicing the use and the awareness of making those actionable choices is really helpful, regardless of what path people want to get on.
Right.
And I think it is probably more helpful than when you start to connect to additional artists, instructors, and acting teachers to say, well, more specifically than in this realm of film and TV, you're going to want to hone that skill this way, because you might have to do this 20 times.
Right. Subtlety and patience.
Yeah. And you're going to get mad. And how do you control that emotion when you're just, I don't know how to do this differently? Well, there's something that they're not catching. And so can you collaborate with the team, the group of people behind the camera going, I want to be done with this set, with this take. What is, and
the funny thing is, looking at that from what you just said, we get that from behind the camera too. Sometimes we get that like irritation of, what, let's just move on. We'll come back to this. We're just not getting it right for whatever reason, if it's communication or whatever it is. What would you say for advice, or just in general, to people that go on sets, on stage, or whatever, to maybe separate but still maybe use it if they need to, like their personal life versus the character in a scene. Like, let's say if a gentleman's going through a divorce, that guy might be a little, taken back and everything like that in his personal life, but now he's playing like a genie character in the Aladdin movie.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta kind of flip a switch. What would you tell somebody to kind of disconnect that or redirect them and use it somehow?
I think first of all that, like, when you encounter those new moments in class, on stage, on set, like, it's first, like, nothing is a mistake.
Right.
And I know that in the film world, you have the challenge as filmmakers of capturing hopefully multiple options of the perfect moment.
Right.
We want 4 perfect moments to use later.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things artistically or structurally that need to happen that are beyond what the actor has control over. So the actor has control over what they bring. That's it. And maybe you're frustrated not because of what the actor's doing. We got to do another take. It's because that plane went over at the worst time, or there's a buzz coming from somewhere. Can we figure that out? And that was like, and you just start, like, there's all these these perfect things that must happen in the theater realm. We're also trying to execute perfection. Like, a show gets frozen, you rehearse it, and then the director says, "This is frozen. We are not going to deviate." Now, we know that life happens on stage, and so be ready for anything. And then, so for us as actors, when we're going through stuff, we're carrying, just like you carry all of life on our back, and we have to find a way to compartmentalize.
Right.
I don't know that it's healthy or realistic to detach fully from it,
Right.
but I do think that the actor has the ability to incorporate the humanness,
Right.
even in a genie,
Right.
right? Like, because there's this cool thing where, like, there isn't like one pure emotion that we're always using. We are so complex as humans, and the actors as well, and so the opposite exists.
Right.
So a genie who seems like he could be happy and thrilled can also be a little bit sad that he's a genie. It's like, well, maybe that sadness is tied to what he's carrying in his personal life, and he's not going to talk about it. That's unprofessional. But I think just that we shouldn't be afraid to use what we bring. Like, the characters we create are born out of us. It's not supposed to be us,
Right.
but they're definitely informed and influenced by what we carry.
And do you think sometimes it goes the other way too? Sometimes people are influenced by the characters they play?
Oh, maybe. I think we learn from our characters.
I would have to say yes, because, like, going back to the Santa thing, for the lack of a better word, I was an a-hole
Okay.
for a long time in my life. There'll be a lot of people that watch and listen to this that would totally agree, maybe even still to the
You don't have to answer that question.
I'll blink. I'll ask me to blink.
Blink twice. No.
Blink twice if.
That was like 20 times.
Hey, man.
But yeah, I can definitely tell that, portraying that character for so long has altered my perspective of just life in general, people in general. And it's just kind of calmed me down as well. But, like, one-off characters, maybe not as much, but I think it also maybe depend on the actor and how far they let themselves dive into that character.
You know what I have found interesting? Obviously observing, I love to observe. I talked about, walking into the room and, like, just noticing things. I love observing and looking for ways to connect. And what I think is interesting, and I just lost the idea. What I think is interesting, it's going to come to me, is, here it is, how improvisation, what it has inadvertently taught me, is it reminded me how to play. And so even as Santa Claus, which is exhausting, and I've worked with youth, and I love youth, but they're exhausting too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it reminds me to just be playful.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can get so worked up and so focused on the business and the business of the art that we're doing super important. You can't have the art without the business.
Right.
But we can also, that pendulum goes too far, and like we should just find the joy. Like my grandma has dementia, and it's really hard for our family. And just a couple weekends ago, we were visiting family, and I just improvised with my grandma.
That's awesome.
I wasn't trying to manipulate her in any sort of way. She just was like, well, where am I? I was like, well, you're at Mom's house. Well, I don't want to be here. Okay. Do you want to go? We can go home. It's late right now. It's dark, so we can't drive, so we'll just go later. And she said, okay. I said, great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, just that the improvisational actor training has taught me just to look for ways to connect, look for ways to affirm. It doesn't mean that I have to be a yes man.
Right.
Or because that is unhealthy too.
Yeah.
Very much.
And
so.
if we all are yes, then there's no conflict. We have to not be afraid of conflict, but just finding a way to work together to move forward.
Right.
And I have to improv in my everyday life because I am a mascot performer.
What?
Yeah, dude. So like every day, like as you said with Santa Claus, these characters, I'm given a sheet when I started working there. These characters have certain mannerisms.
Oh my
that they're
gosh.
supposed to have.
How did we not start talking about this immediately?
Hey man,
Sorry,
we're here to talk about you.
Keep going.
But like with the mascot world, there's so much improvisation because you're not allowed to talk, but B, you're also not allowed to be exhausted sometimes, even when you are out
You have
in
to
a
be on
exactly
all the time.
when you're in a 6-layer costume on a 120-degree day in August. You just gotta have the energy, and you gotta have the improvisational skills to be like if a kid comes up to me and says, "Yo, what are you?" Like, and I'm in this costume that isn't really like an animal, but it's not really like a person, so it's like,
it's hard to tell.
and like when he doesn't have like certain lore that's straight, so you kind of have to be like, you have to use your hands to make signals. Sometimes you can write it down, but sometimes you can't. So it's a nightmare sometimes, but it's fun. And like every now and then,
I love this.
I bring the mannerisms of the characters home with me. So like my straight up standing pose, I'll stand with my hands on my hips because I'm so used to it.
I found myself doing the whole hands on the belly for so long.
Yeah.
Because that was an easy place to put them, because I don't have like nice pockets to put my hands in as Santa.
Yeah.
So then it's like this.
Yeah.
So then I'm not fidgeting, but I'm not accidentally knocking a kid over. Yeah. I know my bubble I'm in.
Right.
So yeah, it's amazing all the stuff that you realize now that we've had this conversation. I think we have to do it.
What, an improv class?
We're actors.
Yes. Say it.
I'm an actor, baby. What's up?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're actors. Yeah.
Isn't it fascinating though that you both talking like, Santa's got these moves and mascot does this, and a lot of times I feel like in that playful discovery, what we don't realize as actors, our new actors coming into the work, like we get so overwhelmed at, I gotta memorize this, or I have to say these words a very specific way. That is true.
Right.
But there is so much opportunity. When you're a mascot, you don't even get to say anything.
Exactly.
There's so much opportunity
Right.
around the words. And so the character work that actors get to do and the discoveries that I get to watch people make when they barely have lines, but they have, like, you're in the scene for a reason.
You gotta be there.
You gotta, acting requires movement, action.
Last year, one of our next guests, Chance, and I made a Christmas movie with Santa in it.
Dude.
And I wrote most of the script. And it was the hardest role I have ever played because I couldn't ad-lib. That's all I'm used to doing is that character.
He's not a good scripted Santa.
So now being scripted, I'm like, you're tying me down.
You're boxed in.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those weird things like, holy crap, I had nothing but respect for other actors, like my fellow actors on set now, because like we're kind of tying you down, and that's the one thing I do enjoy, being able to be a little bit of everywhere on set.
Yeah.
I can feel and understand where they're coming from now. So when I'm a director, I know how to talk and empathize with my actors in certain moments to a certain point. You know, I can't obviously know everything that's going on, like we're talking about the personal stuff and all that kind of stuff, but at least I know what it was like for me feeling tied down in the moment and not being able to, you know, stretch my Santa legs. You know, not that they're big, but you know what I mean? But, you know, you gotta learn to adapt to not just your understanding, but other people's understanding of their roles on set too. Yeah. So
that I appreciate that you said that. We've had 2, maybe 3 filmmakers attend acting classes, not because they want to be actors, although we just discovered that you both you are actors,
right?
But there's that desire on their part to understand what is the actor going through, or what's the work they're trying to complete or create, so that I know how to empathize and support them in that, because I'm going to have a very different perspective on that. So I can really, really appreciate that you had that opportunity to do that with them.
And every time that we have a chance, like even the podcast, the Filmmakers Hangout itself, the live events that we do, even just on sets or talking to people in general about with actors and things like that, we ask them, how do you do that? You know, like we've been on set, like that Christmas movie. It's called The Visit. It's online. Maybe we'll share it.
Made me cry.
Yeah. And it's that good. But speaking of crying, one of my fellow actors, Walter Shatley, he was able to bring the tears like that. And I'm like, how? How do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, I've been on a set to where I wanted my character to cry, and it took me a little bit to just sweat my eye, you know, to try to maybe make it work. So it's definitely something that not everybody can do.
Nope.
You know, but when you see it, it's like, wow. I heard, and it's not just seeing it on, you know, the film itself, the movie itself, being able to like be in the scene and see it,
participate in that,
and participate in it, and be part of it. And I consider myself a friend of Walter, you know, and not try to break character too, because I'm like sitting here thinking, part of me is like sitting here going, is Walter okay?
Well, you good, yeah?
But he's in character, you know. So then I have to, you know,
like stay in it,
bring myself back to it, and be like, oh no, we're still, this is acting.
Yeah,
and that's where I always come back to that concept of trust. Mm-hmm. And the trust is not so much, I mean, it is trust. Trust is huge, but the extra layers to that is like, you know, Walter, like, okay, we're gonna keep going, and Walter's gonna maybe make a new choice that you weren't ready for.
Right.
Listen, respond.
Definitely.
And you can't just be like, oh shit,
like, oh no,
in the scene.
All right, well, just need a break, you know.
And he's a very comedic actor, and like on like Landon's sets when he is directing Walter knows that he can ad-lib, and sometimes he will mess with us on purpose.
And it's very fun.
And you enjoy it?
It's
it's great.
It, but it's also one of those things that the thing that I like about Walter in general, other actors, other filmmakers that we've worked with, but Walter in general he's very patient with us.
He is.
As actors.
I think we need to be.
Because he realizes that we might not be as comfortable as other people he's worked with. And because of that, he's willing to wait. He's willing to work with it.
He's very lo-fi.
Give us something to work with.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you were saying, he's listening. Mm-hmm. You know, he's there. He's not just like texting and zoning out, waiting for his lines to show up and waiting for his close-up. He's still there, even if the camera's on us or whoever he's working with.
Like, I remember when we were working on F, there was a scene in the movie where I was supposed to, I can't remember exactly, but I was supposed to say like some kind of line a certain way, and I don't know, it was just, I couldn't stop breaking character because it was so funny to me. So as you and Maverick were talking, Maverick was the director on set, Walter, he was in the scene as well, he pulled me aside, he was like, yo, just do it like this. He walked me through the scene, and that forced me to listen, like you said, and he connected with me about it, and it was just kind of one of those things where it was like, okay, all right, like it kind of like he forced me to learn in that moment.
Yeah. What a helpful way for someone like, I mean, that's, in the example you're sharing, Walter's role, he understands his role.
He does.
And his role is also to support you.
Right.
Come in prepared, be prepared, but also like, hey, I see one of my fellow actors struggling. I'm not stepping on toes, or I'm going to do it in such a way that I don't, interfere with the director's role, but to say, hey, let me help you with this. That's huge. I feel like the actor's job in building a place of trust is to just be responsible to what their role is. And the other device that I can keep hearing from those in the industry, on stage, screen, is if you want to work with people, you got to be someone that people want to work with.
Yeah.
Right.
So don't burn bridges.
I think that's why we like Walter, is because every time before we even get on set, it's like, man, we're not going to get anything done because Walter's going to be around. We're just going to be having so much fun. But once you get on set, you're having fun with Walter, but he's also still very business oriented. He's like, all right, we still got to get this done.
Right.
He knows how to balance
It's a good balance.
He knows how to balance the fun, the yada, 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 but he's also very good at being like, all right, let's get back on track.
And you as the directors, filmmakers, whoever's in charge, you get to set the tone.
Correct.
And so the actors also I feel like the actors are looking for guidance at all times.
Yes.
In the improv world, it's tricky because you're playwright, director, performer, stage manager. You're also audience if you're sitting to the side for a scene and
Right.
you get a chance to observe. Oh, that's happening. Okay, interesting. So you're always playing those various roles, which is a helpful way to.
And that's the one thing that we like to do on our sets too, is we let everybody that's on the set know if there's a moment that you see something different, let us know, bring it up, because we might have tunnel vision, literally and figuratively, because we're here and we only see the scene from this angle. If you see it over there, you saw something different that might actually work, let us know, and then we can make that decision.
That's fantastic.
And to me, that's the one thing, like, it's like one of those weird things that rubs me like wrong in a way when I see people say, oh, my movie, and I'm like, is it just a script that you wrote? Because if it's just a script you wrote, yes, it's your movie. But the second you get on set with a whole bunch of people, it's no longer my movie.
Yeah.
It's our movie.
Collaboration.
At that point. And that's kind of what we try to go and bring into that, is trying to make sure everybody on set understands that.
Yeah.
Trying to have that balance of, yes, we can have fun, we can have improv, we can, give us some feedback and critique and things like that, because then we're all learning. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I don't want to ever go on a set and make everybody think that we know everything just because we're behind the camera.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We don't know everything. Sure. If we did, we wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be stuck in indie stuff, dude. Trust me.
We might be, but we might be doing it our own way.
Yeah.
I think we gotta wrap it up here. So, Steve, thanks for coming in.
Oh my goodness.
Is there anything that you want to maybe pitch out there? Your classes that are coming up or anything like that?
Plug your stuff.
We so the Acting Academy, it's a part of the Arts Collective, but the Acting Academy, 402actingacademy.org, we are looking for ways to just continually offer education to whoever wants to start the journey. We, our mission is just guidance for the journey, whether it's towards the stage, towards the screen, or if you're a lawyer, towards life, or you're just like, I just got to get out of my house. Great, come be a part of this. So we're always launching classes for adults and workshops, and just trying to essentially, like, one of the things that I love about how I perceive what we do at the Acting Academy is, if I want to someday be on a film, maybe one of your films, and I'm a student, the 402 isn't necessarily, we're not making films, because that's not our mission.
Right.
Our mission is to bring the individuals in, equip them with the skills, this is how the skill works, this is how you use the skill outside of these walls, and now go audition for the film that you two are making. You need cast, you need crew. So we want to just keep bringing people in, giving them the confidence and the courage, the bravery to take the risk to say, you should go to that audition.
Right.
That's the goal. Our goal is to help you get to your goal.
And I do have to say that there's, and I don't know if it was just a Nicole thing that she did, but I was invited as a guest director for one of the her classes.
Yeah.
They hosted basically a showcase
Yep.
at the Benson Theater.
Yes.
Where we got to see her acting class perform. Different monologues, different skits, and things like that. And then us directors, we got the pamphlet with the headshots and the resumes in there. So we don't even necessarily have to have an audition now for those actors. We just have them in the back of our head. You know, and we've already seen them. So then if we're writing something or if we have a character come up, we already know about them. So, you know, I have to thank you guys even just in that. Matter of fact, I have a feature that I'm planning for 2026 that one of the actors from that is in my feature as one of the leads. So
that's fantastic.
She's moving out of state, but I'm bringing her back.
Woohoo! Great.
So
it's been really, really special. Seems like a cliche word, but it has been special to see all these actors who didn't know how to do it before, who have started to, whether they're leaving and going to other places or they're staying around. The number of, like, just the other night, just Tuesday night at my acting class, we just went around the room and say, well, what are you currently working on?
Right.
And everyone, one person said, I just wrote my second play. I'm at 95 pages. Or I did my first film and I got in. And it was I had 2 lines, but before this class,
you're on set.
You're doing it.
You're there.
And to listen to every person on some level begin to chase their dream and their goals is just really cool to be a part of.
Right. It really is. We have no more time right now, but we can always definitely invite you back for another episode down the road.
I would love that.
Definitely check out Steve, his classes, all the workshops that they have, and check them out. This has been the Filmmakers Hangout Podcast. Thank you, Steve.
Woohoo. Thank you.